Welcome to episode 40 of VYPE Recruit Spotlight. I am your host, Wack. Joining alongside with me is Jackson, the fellow kind of recruit expert. Maybe I use expert. You know, we're not 247 or on 3 level, but hey, I think we do a good job of covering recruits around here in Texas, Jackson. We don't go nationwide, but we kind of try and cover the state the best we can. And yesterday was National Signing Day, and we'll talk about some of the commitments happening across the state of Texas, and probably the biggest flip, if you will, I think of the day. And then one story that seems to be not over yet, if you ask me. But before we get into all of that, Jackson, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It was a crazy day yesterday. We saw some kids commit to places we didn't expect them to, but for the most part, down in the Houston area, I mean, I saw a lot of kids stick with the schools that they had been committed to, especially in the Dallas area as well, Austin and San Antonio. But we did have some big surprises, and we still have surprises going on right now. So it's going to be very exciting next 2 days before we get to about Christmas time to see how it all plays out.
And let's start with what's probably the biggest news. You kind of heard rumblings of it the day before, and that's Austin Novosad. He was committed to Baylor, but he flips and signs with Oregon. Now, Jackson, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Oregon bring on an assistant coach that was at A&M? Am I right on that? I don't see one way. Is that something that happened?
So there's a couple recruiting staffers that used to be with A&M that moved to Oregon, but they did just hire a new OC. I believe he's from either North Texas or UTSA. I know that's where they hired him from. And so this really impacted Novosad's decision. Little shocked that it was Oregon that flipped him, but it really got the ball rolling. Obviously, there's something going on in Audison. So very excited to see how this Oregon class plays out with a key piece in Austin Novosad, who is one of the best quarterbacks in the state of Texas this year.
I mean, do you think it has something to do with the assistants that were brought on? Because, like you said, it really did seem to come out of left field. I mean, he is just trading green and gold for another kind of green and gold, if you will. But still, a little bit of a shock. And he wasn't the only one that goes to Oregon. Oregon had a big day in recruiting. Do you think it was some of that they brought in? I mean, could there be some Nike NIL money? I mean, we know Oregon's right there, next with Nike in their facilities there in Oregon. What do you think was the biggest factor in that switch for Novosad?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The A&M staffers we were mentioning had already been there for a couple of years now. So I don't necessarily think that it was it could have been them, it could have not been them. But I definitely think that this is more of a offensive kind of move for a guy like Austin Novosad. He'd have a chance to play kind of early in his career. He's going to an offense that likes to throw the ball, likes to do things that would get him a lot of exposure and potentially get him to the next level. I think that Oregon is definitely a school where he could look at and say, well, they've got Bo Nix right now, who's going to be coming back for another year. But after Bo Nix is gone, I'm the guy. So it's a very interesting move by him. I took it by surprise just because I felt like Baylor was a really good fit. He'd probably get to play right away. But I think this Oregon class that they're putting together right now with Novosad as one of their centerpieces is really nice.
Now, before we talk about the one that I think is not over with yet, the one that doesn't seem to be over anyways, this is something we didn't get to talk about between our last episode and now, and that's Anthony Hill. Decommits from A&M and commits to University of Texas. Signs his letter of intent yesterday. What do you make of that situation? I don't want to obviously get into the whole A&M, a lot of transfers, a lot of decommits. Although you did get Ruben Owens, which I don't know. Did we talk about on that show either? I can't remember if we talked about the Ruben Owens story either. So Ruben Owens does sign with A&M, but you lose Anthony Hill. So just talk to me about that, and what Texas gets in Anthony Hill.
Yeah, you're getting arguably one of the best A lot of people would argue it's him and Peyton Bowen are the best players in the country that they've ever seen. I mean, Anthony Hill does it all for that Denton Ryan team. He played running back, played linebacker. He's very fast, physical, great tackler, just has a nose for the football. And that was a big get for Texas. And I think that in regards to the battle between A&M and Texas, there were just too many, and there's still too many questions raised about A&M. They haven't hired an offensive coordinator yet. They haven't really made the changes that they said they were going to make yet. They're going to be made, but for a kid like Anthony Hill, he wanted to see those changes happen before he decided to maybe go back. And he was supposed to visit A&M this past weekend on the final kind of big weekend for recruits, but he had already committed to Texas, and now he's signed, and that's a big time get for Texas. You're getting the best linebacker in the state, arguably best linebacker in the country. So that it was a really big get, and their class is being put together really well here down the stretch.
Yeah, I was definitely. We had talked. I was like, oh, maybe he'll come. Jokingly, like maybe he'll still come back to Texas because that was kind of on the table way back then, and it happened. I think that's a good get for Texas. They seem to be building up a good, linebacking program, and often our defensive front program, and getting Hill definitely helps. Let's move back to Oregon. I kind of mentioned this. First off, Johnny Bowens from Judson commits to Oregon as well. He's one that people I think he was committed somewhere else, decommitted, and ends up committing. Not this week, but that's someone else that Oregon was able to get. But the one that that people don't know if the story's over yet. Peyton Bowen, originally committed to Notre Dame, decommits. There was talk of, is he going to go to Oklahoma? Yesterday during his ceremony, he puts on the Notre Dame hat, takes it off. Yes, I'll get to you here in a second, Jackson. Takes the hat off, puts on the Oregon hat. But now there's rumblings that might not be final. As far as I'm aware, as of this recording, hasn't turned in his LOI yet. Letter of intent for those that don't know what LOI is. And there's rumblings that it could be Oklahoma in the future. So this saga does not seem to be over yet. Jackson, what have you heard? What do you know? What do you think?
Yeah, after he committed to Oregon yesterday, you would have thought he would have signed. He did sign a national letter of intent, but he has not sent it to the school. So since he has not sent it to the school,
sorry, go ahead.
What?
We got the delay. We got the delay there. I was just saying, yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, that's true. I misspoke. So thank you for correcting me there.
Yes, so he has signed the national letter of intent, but he has not sent it to the school, which means basically, though he is committed, he is not officially a Oregon Duck. That has played over throughout the evening, and now in the early morning, as we still haven't seen anything change there. We did see a couple people quoted his mom. His mom had thought it was Notre Dame. He had been talking about Notre Dame. It was really a game time decision. She wasn't really expecting it. It was kind of really a surprise for her. As we know, family can go a long way in deciding where you go to school. And maybe that's what's happening, maybe not. But now we've seen a couple lead recruiting analysts like Nick Harris just put in a crystal ball for Bowen to flip from Oregon to Oklahoma. There's high confidence in that. So this is going to be a very interesting recruitment today to see who really seals the deal and gets Bowen because he's the number 13 player in the country. He's legit at anywhere you wanted to put him on the field. He's going to play in the secondary, but he's electric in the punt return game, kick return game. So it's going to be an interesting battle here down the stretch. Who's going to get him? Is it going to be Notre Dame? Is it going to be Oklahoma? Is Oregon going to keep him and get that NIL signed so that way they can get him to a campus there in Austin? We're going to see what's going to happen, and it's going to be very interesting. If I had to guess right now, I'm guessing he's going to go and play at Oklahoma with his high school teammate, Jackson Arnold. But we'll see what happens. It's going to be crazy down to the end.
Now, one of the things too, I want to kind of maybe ask a question on you is, should they have waited? It really seemed like that he was unsure of himself, right? Yeah, I think he even says, or I think it was his mom that might have said, I mean, this really came down to the last second. He was sitting at the table unsure. Do you think maybe the pressure for him to commit that day was too much, and for him to say no, and that maybe some people should say, hey man, you got another chance to sign. It doesn't have to be early signing day. Yes, over 90% of athletes are signing on early signing day period now, but you don't have to do that. Do you think he should have taken a pause and be like, you know what? I'm not sure yet. I'm going to wait until National Signing Day to officially sign instead of the early signing day period. What do you think, Jackson?
Well, I'd have to double check. He might be an early grad, which would mean that he kind of has to sign within this time period, as he'll be starting classes in less than 2 weeks, 3 weeks at whatever university he's at. But he's not. If he's not an early grad, yes, I think that waiting till that, maybe you can sign at any point, kind of in between that period, if I'm correct. That February date is just the last day to sign. As I know, there's a Texas A&M commit, Samu Tamanapepe, who's signing January 23rd, which is his birthday. So he could definitely push it back and wait. But if he is an early grad, he kind of has to do it now. That way he can get enrolled, get on campus in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I think that when it comes down to it, these kids, they go on these visits, especially late visits, towards the end, like a week or two before signing day, a couple of days before signing day. And that can really impact the kid's decision. He might have been thinking Notre Dame the entire time, goes on a visit to Oregon, then he's all hyped up about Oregon. But then after kind of making that commitment and then going back home with the family, with everyone, kind of talking that decision out, maybe there's some second guessing going on, which is why you potentially see Oklahoma coming into the mix now. You might see other schools come into the mix. It might just be those three. We'll see what happens there. But I definitely think if he wasn't an early grad, that he should maybe just push it back a little bit. Let the decision kind of come to him after a little bit of time to think about it. Enjoy Christmas this weekend. Kind of let things pass over and then regroup. Okay, where do I want to go?
Yeah, and that's always one of the things, as people that cover this, and you'll probably as especially if you're a fan of a certain college, you got to give these kids some slack. At the end of the day, these kids, 17, 18-year-old, making a choice that they hope is going to impact them for the rest of their lives, right? Lead hopefully to to an NFL career potentially. And so for some of these people that are getting upset if these kids commit and then flip and this, like, get over it. That's all I gotta say is get over it. At the end of the day, this is these kids' livelihoods at stake. A lot of them have NFL aspirations. They have to do what's best for them. So if they don't go to the college that you root for like, for instance, hey, if Arch Manning had flipped and gone somewhere else, it's like, yeah, it would have been a bummer. But like, I hate it when I see all these people just slandering these kids. These are kids that just getting out of high school. So all I gotta say to that is grow up at the end of the day, because I'm seeing some things that just make me shake my head. A couple of noteworthy ones that I want to mention before I give you a chance to maybe talk about a few that you might have on your plate. Jonah Wilson, who was at one time, I think, committed to Texas, if I'm not mistaken. He did commit, and now he is with Houston. That one's official. And then Dylan Spencer, over the last couple of days, decommits from Texas, commits to Texas Tech, going to the Red Raiders. The Raiders get themselves a nice athlete there. I loved when obviously he was committed to Texas. Speaking of, but you know what, Texas got themselves someone there, and good for them from pulling him away from Texas. Those are two that I noticed. When I was looking over some stuff. Jackson, over to you. Any others that you saw that might have been surprising, or even just maybe kids that signed somewhere they didn't necessarily flip or anything, but just, hey, this team got a good one. Any thoughts on any of these athletes that committed yesterday or signed?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I've got a couple things. I've got Caleb Black, an athlete from Klein Oak High School, had been committed to Memphis for basically for the end of the summer to basically now. Decommitted from Memphis on Monday. It was kind of quiet. No one really knew except for him and the staff. And then he goes on a visit to Arizona State, where he hangs out with new passing game coordinator Coach Samples and Coach Carrington there, and commits and signs with the Sun Devils. So you're already seeing two of the best recruiters in the game, who are now at Arizona State, start to put their fingerprint a little bit in Houston and Dallas, and start to kind of pick some of these guys from Texas and get them over to Tempe, Arizona. So congrats to Caleb. Very close to him. It was a cool experience to watch and see. I got to make an edit for him. Other things to note, We've got Caleb Komalafe from Tompkins, decommitted from Memphis and then committed to Northwestern. He'll be joining Justin Cryer from the Houston area. That's a big time get for Northwestern. He's a kid who was first team all district safety and then a first team all district, I believe, running back. That's pretty impressive to do in that KDISD district. He's going to be a definite impact wherever he's going, and now he's going to Northwestern. So the Northwestern Wildcats have got themselves a really good athlete. Other than that, the only other news that I've got is David Hicks pushed back his signing to Friday. While a lot of people are saying there's smoke there with Oregon, I think if Bowen ends up going to Oklahoma, it's not going to really matter. I think he's locked in with the Aggies. He was there this past weekend. So I think he had something going on, if I believe it was kind of a family thing that he had to go to that he couldn't sign. But so look out for his signing day on Friday, as there could be a lot more craziness happening. And then, like I had mentioned, Samu Tamanapepe, Texas A&M commit, pushed back his commit or is signing on January 23rd, his birthday. He seemed to be an A&M lock. He's been in the mix, helping get some of these guys to flip to A&M. So that's all the news that I've got from yesterday's kind of craziness.
I think one more thing to mention is that the Coach Prime effect is in full force. Jaden Milliner, if I think I said that right, I'm sorry. Jones, the DeSoto defensive back, flips from SMU and is now going to Colorado. Hey, this one isn't high school. This one isn't Texas, but I think it's probably the most funny is that Travis Hunter may have had the most non-suspenseful transfer in the history of college. He tried to hype it up. I think he was trying to get to 100,000 YouTube subscribers, and he was at 70,000 before he committed, or he said where he was going to transfer to. Well, we all knew where he was going. Like, he tried to hype it up that he might not go to college. Everyone knew he was going to Colorado. But the Coach, like I said, the Coach Prime effect is in full force. I mean, do you think this year is only the taste of what's going to happen once he gets into a full recruiting cycle at Colorado, Jackson?
Yeah, they're going to be definitely in the mix here in Houston and Dallas and Austin, all over the state of Texas. They've got a defensive end coach who used to be a coach on A&M staff. He was a recruiting guy for the defensive side, but also just recruiting in general. His name is Nick Williams. He's going to do great things there at Colorado. He's going to be able to help Deion kind of get into Texas. Of course, Deion's got the name. It's Deion Sanders, prime time, Coach Prime. So obviously recruits are going to be drawn to him, but a guy like Nick Williams to have on your staff to go recruit Texas is absolutely insane. They're definitely going to have a footprint in the next couple of years and getting some of these big-time Texas recruits. So it's going to be interesting. I really like the class they put together right now. They've got a lot of high-profile 23s on there, and then they've also, with the transfer portal, they're going to have a pretty good team. I mean, for a team that went 1-11 last year, you might see them go 8-4. You might see them go 7-6. Who knows? But I'm expecting Coach Prime to definitely recruit Texas because as he knows, being a former Texas high school football coach, you got to recruit Texas kids. That's where the real kind of gems are in recruiting.
Yeah, I wonder if people forget that. He was a Texas high school football coach with Trinity Christian, private school out in the DFW area, had a powerhouse out there with his sons at the helm. One other one I want to mention before we left, because he was committed somewhere and then kind of flipped. Javion Toviano, he committed to LSU, I think, right before National Signing Day, if I'm not mistaken, and he is now an LSU Tiger. So good get there for Kelly and his staff. So with that being said, that's going to be our show for today. No interviews, no under the radars this week. We just wanted to talk about the early signing day and all the craziness that's happened. We'll see if Peyton is a Oregon Duck the next time we come on, which will be in 2023. We'll take next week off, celebrate the new year. We'll be back sometime, probably first or second week of 2023. Just depends on how all stacks up. January is a busy time for the VYPE crew. So with that being said, Jackson, let's sign off one more time for the 2022 calendar year. 40 episodes in, kind of crazy to think about that we're on episode 40 already. 40 in 2022, not too bad if you ask me. Jackson, who are you shouting out as we close off this this episode 40 and the last episode of 2022?
Well, first I want to shout out all the recruits who signed yesterday. It's an exciting time to spend with your family and friends. I mean, you're getting to go play at the next level. You're getting that education at the next level. So shout out to everyone that signed, no matter if it's D3, D2, D1, JUCO, wherever you're going, it's the place that you're supposed to be. So shout out to these guys for signing. And then I also want to shout out you, Josh. We've been 40 episodes. It's been a crazy 2022. Been crazy in recruiting, and very excited to be kicking off 2023 in 2 weeks.
That's right, man. We were closing off, the 2023 recruit cycle. Now we'll have athletes from 2024 and 2025 to look at. So excited to do that. Thanks to you. Thanks to Will. Hey, shout out Will over in Nebraska doing the thing for the 247 Huskers out there. And shout out to Ashton for joining us along this ride, 40 episodes in, and hopefully, 40 more or 40 or more in the next year, in the new year of 2023. Like you said, shout out to all the athletes committing. And like I said earlier, hey, this is your decision. Enjoy it. Live in the moment. Don't listen to all the haters out there. And hey, thanks for everyone listening along for 40 episodes. It's been great. And like I said, excited to do all this again in 2023. So for the last time in 2022, I'm Wack, and that's Jackson. And we'll see you at the games.